The question is how my international experiences contributed to who I am as a person and what it taught about life. And for me, because I was brought up with a father who said that his daughters were not going to be useless when they got married, I was out in the field cultivating, driving the tractor and cultivating. So I had a lot of time to think and dream. There was dreaming mentioned there, and I dreamed of travel and adventure. And part of it was I always wanted to be a teacher since I was little, but I didn't want to be one of these teachers that goes to school, then goes to university and goes back to school and regurgitates from the books. Because the best teacher I had in Lethbridge had been a research scientist before he became a high school biology teacher, and he was the most interesting teacher ever. So I thought I'd get this experience that I could bring back to the classroom, with the traveling. And I love languages. My first language as a child was Ukrainian, so adventure and travel and learning and seeing how people live, because I didn't travel as a tourist in vacations. I would go, initially to Australia on an agricultural exchange, live with a family, learn how they farm, and in the countries that I lived with families as well, as living on my own, just to really understand how their perspective, their view about life. And it made a huge contribution. And there was one Christmas, I came back and my mom said, Tanya, it's great you go away and you learn all these different traditions and ways of doing things, but don't come back and try and change us all. Because the teacher in me likes to tell people what they should be doing.
It's another reason it's more appropriate for her to be up here than me. It's the lecture.
Because I have a prescription. And so it also contributed to how I taught students, and this whole topic of spirituality, being exposed to different people's religious beliefs and spiritual traditions. And as time went on, what was interesting on that topic is I used to be pretty sure of what I believed. But when you're confronted with it in a more concrete way, when I was confronted with it in a more concrete way, it's like all of that disappears. And for a while, it's like, well, what do I believe? And how strongly do I believe it? And who knows for sure? Like, where do I find out? Because everyone's got their opinion, their belief, their perspective. So yeah, the travel was huge for me in developing who I was and my perspective on things.
Are there any other questions? There's one here.
This question probably three of you can answer. How do you define success? What do you think success in life is?
Let's ask the oldest person on the stage. Success in life.
Well, I think that success is a culmination of a choice of what you want to do, teach or nurse or whatever. But the success comes in putting your heart into it and doing the best that you can, not to be swayed by common opinion that you can take the easy route, you don't have to pursue this in such definite attention, that you can sort of work your way through. I think just doing the very utmost of your ability and your intelligence to do the job that you chose to do.
Which is why Mom and Dad forced all four of us to go to the U of A. There was no option. You're going to university. Mom she had this old battery-powered, and then when a newer model came out, electricity plug-in radio. And in a farmhouse, while she was doing things there and all other manner of things were going on in the fields and so on, she would be listening to CBC radio. And so one of my fondest memories growing up is gathering for the evening meal, which would be typically later after the sun had gone down. In the summer, that's pretty late. And Mom telling all of us, the 4 kids, you would never guess what I heard on the radio today. You know, and it would be anything from a different, whether it's politics to science or something on the other side of the world or ideas from history and so on, just something that she brought to us as a way to get past the farm gate while we were still all stuck there doing chores. Another question. We have one at the back there. Yes.
What message do you find yourself trying to instill in your children?
Are you directing that to Mom? The messages or the lessons that I'm trying to instill into these 2 little monkeys. The perspective one is a big one. Perseverance is another very big one that we didn't have time to talk about tonight. I think a lot of people, for reasons, often necessarily give up, but a lot of times give up much too soon or don't have the benefit of the courage of their convictions or the bravery to go into the unknown. And that's not a criticism, but I would say that once you've picked something, that a lot of times the benefits don't accrue until you've become an expert in it. And there are theories now about when that happens, some rules of thumb. One by a Canadian fellow that suggests it's 10,000 hours before you're an expert at anything. But I know that certain of the different adventures or stories that I've chalked up wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for perseverance and going beyond the pale, going beyond when everyone else thought you were just nuts to keep going. Christopher Columbus being an example of an explorer who did that, and I think our partners, Vern and Mike and Shane and I, are more modern examples of things that were just blasted, where you're blasting through brick walls. I would say for the kids that, and they could probably repeat this as soon as I start saying it, they'll finish my sentence, but a little life lesson is support the little guy. You know, they're the Walmarts and so on of the world, and I have nothing against those, and they represent big commercial successes. But when we're driving down a road or we're in a little town or somebody's hungry, if there's one of the big neon marquees with one of the big brands, and it's sitting there, and I don't coach them or lead them. I say, where are we going to go? Where are we going to eat? And they're starving, right? They support the little guy. So we find the little guy. And we support the little guy. That would be another question.
Can I just add something to
Yeah.
that about what lessons to teach children? I don't have children of my own, so I use my brother's kids, and not that they always want to hear what my lessons are, but as far as looking from an educator's perspective of what's not taught in schools, whether it's secondary school or post-secondary school, and what contributes to success in whatever way you define it, there's 3 things that I would highly recommend. One is that you learn communication and relationship skills, because the happiness of the world rests on that. A lot of people are, as adults, even immature as human beings, and a lot of problems come because of poor relationship and communication skills, and that includes choosing a life mate, how you choose a life mate, and then, if you're going to have children, how to raise children. In our society, you have to get a license to drive a car or have a dog or you spend 4 to 6 years here in this institution, but how much time do you spend learning how to raise children, you know, all those that are going to impact the world and contribute to making the world a better place? It's, you know, the quality of character of the children that you raise. So the relationship communication skills, how to raise children, and the third one would be financial skills, because a lot of problems in relationships or businesses come down to, you know, poor financial decisions and, you know, reasons why, the debt and everything that people find themselves in. Because, you know, generally speaking, people don't get a divorce because their spouse doesn't know where the Nile River is.
All right. In order to remain on track and respectful of everyone's planning and the evening, you have other things that you would like to do after this. We'll probably only have time for one more question and then some wrap-up comments from the stage.